freedom, justice, truth, and might, guided by the stars and stripes tonight. Stand tall, constitutionalist and free, for liberty's voice come and see. Together we rise, you and me. Welcome to the Go Right, the way it should be.
Breaking news from the Pacific Northwest. State election officials are working to determine how many ballots were destroyed overnight after two apparent arson attacks. Drop-off ballot boxes were apparently targeted in Vancouver, Washington, and Portland, Oregon. Police found an incendiary device, that's their frame, inside the Portland ballot drop-off box. County elections officials say fire suppressant inside the drop box protected nearly all the ballots. Only 3 were damaged. But officials in Vancouver fear that hundreds of ballots could have been damaged or even destroyed.
We're starting with some big news that could reshape the political landscape. With the election right around the corner, the Real Clear Politics polling average shifted dramatically as former President Donald Trump edged past Vice President Kamala Harris in the polls. This development comes as Americans continue to wrestle with questions about our country's economic path, fueling political divides across this nation. Trump, in fact, is peaking at the right moment. Not only is he gaining ground, but his economic policies now have the favor of 44% of voters, compared to Harris's 30%. Meanwhile, a staggering 52% of Americans report feeling worse off than they did 4 years ago, according to recent surveys, with Biden attempting to rally behind Harris by offering to campaign for her. But it's worth noting that her campaign remains hesitant, a clear indication of the tensions within her camp as the election heats up. And if you noticed, Biden went to go vote early today, and he was standing in a line holding onto the back of a wheelchair of an older black woman. And you're wondering, why is the President of the United States standing in a line? I don't get it. It's with the dangers that's going on. Really? I mean, Donald Trump's been almost assassinated twice, and you're going to have Biden just standing outside? Oh, I'm ready to vote. It's kind of fishy. Let's dive into some of these latest headlines, dissect the facts, and see what's really happening on the ground. We'll be right back with hashtag Go Right with Peter Boykin. Remember, we fight for what's right because it's time to go right.
Time to go right. Time to go right. Time to go right.
Welcome to hashtag Go Right with Peter Boykin. Hey there, patriots. This is Peter Boykin. I'm the Constitutionalist for Liberty. And welcome to hashtag Go Right, where we're all about getting to the heart of what's happening in our constitutional republic. As always, we bring you the facts, not the spin, cutting through the noise with a constitutionalist viewpoint for liberty, ensuring that you get news grounded in the principles of our founders and a clear-eyed look at today's issues. Today, we're diving into some big headlines making waves across the country, headlines that reveal the tension in our economy, shifts in political support, and where the media is leaning this political and election season. We already looked at how Donald Trump has surged in recent polls, with the Real Clear Politics average showing him ahead of Kamala Harris for the first time since August. But this is huge, folks, because pollings are indicating a change in momentum as more Americans say they're feeling worse off now than they were just a few years back. And we're not stopping there. We're going to get into the Washington Post's unprecedented decision not to endorse Harris. Yes, you heard that right. And what it says about the administration's standing with some of the usual media allies. I mean, if you don't got legacy media behind you, I don't know. There's a real disconnect growing in Washington, and voters are starting to take notice. At hashtag Go Right, we believe in an America united under the Constitution where everyone's voice matters. So stay tuned as we break down the facts, lay out the big picture, and fight for truth. This is Peter Boykin, and let's get started.
The alarms.
The opening act, grabbing headlines for all the wrong reasons. A comedian who offered unfunny, racist, cringeworthy jokes.
Basically calling Puerto Ricans trash.
The most repulsive racial jokes about Latinos.
Disgusting and hateful.
So incredibly crude.
Frankly, just too X-rated to play here.
Extremely vile so-called jokes.
Extremely vile so-called jokes. She name-checked my comedy album from the 90s. Did I really? I don't know who's AI, me or that guy. Now, obviously, in retrospect, having a roast comedian come to a political rally a week before Election Day and roasting a key voting demographic, probably not the best decision by the campaign politically. But to be fair, the guy's really just doing what he does. I mean, here he is at the Tom Brady roast a few months ago.
The great Jeff Ross, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff is so Jewish, he only watches football for the coin toss. Gronk, you look like the Nazi that kept burning himself on the ovens. Kevin is so small that when his ancestors picked cotton, they called it deadlifting.
Yes, of course. Terrible, boo, yes. There's something wrong with me. I find that guy very funny. So, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, bringing him to a rally and have him not do roast jokes, that'd be like bringing Beyonce to a rally and not have... Oh.
With Trump pulling ahead in the Real Clear Politics average, the former president's platform seems to resonate now more than ever. With 44% of Americans showing preference for his economic agenda over Harris's 30%, the sentiment marks a strong shift towards concerns over inflation, energy policies, and job growth under the current administration. Now, this surge comes with the backdrop of Washington Post's decision not to endorse Kamala Harris, a notable shift that reflects waning confidence from even her usual media allies. Now, the opinion-based reporting around this refusal to endorse Harris has highlighted frustration with her handling of domestic issues and perceived inability to address them head-on. As Americans grapple with concerns over rising living costs and job insecurity, the endorsement or lack thereof from legacy media outlets may be a bellwether for the Democrat Party's overall stance heading into the election. Perhaps the most compelling figure in recent polls is that 52% of Americans say they feel worse off now than 4 years ago. This sentiment goes beyond partisanship. It underscores a fundamental dissatisfaction with the economy and increasing costs of living from grocery bills to home ownership. At least 4 years later, now people are able to breathe. A significant majority across political lines expresses frustration over what they perceive as a widening gap between the government's promises and real results. Trump, capitalizing on his frustration, has positioned himself while capitalizing on this frustration, has positioned himself as the champion of returning economic stability into the nation. I mean, he has a plan. Kamala's out there, really. Biden's support for Harris's candidacy thus appears to be a calculated risk, yet it's complicated by Harris's hesitation to fully embrace his endorsement due to fears of voter backlash, a choice that raises questions about unity within the party's leadership. I would have liked to know who Biden really voted for. So the Washington Post's decision to abstain from endorsing Kamala Harris reflects mounting unease among typically supportive media circles. While the paper has yet to release a formal statement, opinion-based pieces from several editors suggest that hesitations stem from a mix of policy disagreements and an overarching disillusionment from the administration's progress on core issues. Some journalists have even argued that Harris's administration struggles with a perception gap, while Americans feel ignored or marginalized despite promises of inclusion and growth. Although the Washington Post hasn't backed an alternative candidate, I mean, they had backed Trump, its neutrality speaks volumes, which could potentially influence moderate and undecided voters. You know, the ones that are out there the most. Like here in North Carolina, the moderate and undecided voters are the biggest party, and they're the ones that's truly going to decide who wins this election. Biden's involvement in Harris's campaign could ultimately prove to be a double-edged sword, rallying core supporters while alienating voters unhappy with his administration's handling of critical issues like COVID. Harris's team, keen to avoid being reviewed as overly dependent on Biden, finds itself in a difficult position, reflecting the broader challenge within the party to maintain cohesion without compromising electability. As we move closer to the election, these headlines reveal a constitutional republic deeply engaged in debates over the future. From economic policies to party unity, the decisions made in the coming months could alter the trajectory of this nation. And here at #GoRightNews, we're here to cut through the noise, offering facts and reasoned analysis in this pivotal moment. And I will tell you when I'm offering my opinion and bias. We'll be right back.
As I travel our country, there is an overwhelming call for a fresh start. People from all walks of life, and they are calling for a new generation of leadership.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
In a recent development, a federal judge appointed by the Biden-Harris administration ordered the state of Virginia, a neighboring state right above us, to restore the voter registrations of more than 1,600 individuals. These residents had previously been removed from the voting rolls after reportedly self-identifying as illegal immigrants. So they're not United States citizens. I mean, this is probably why we have the constitutional amendment to have on our ballot here in North Carolina that no one that's not a citizen, a legal citizen of the United States, is allowed to vote in our elections. People go, why would you? It's already illegal for that. Yeah, but here we go. Here we go. We got a federal judge trying to tell Virginia that they have to put illegal votes on the ballot. Now, this judge's decision points to a specific focus on the eligibility criteria used in voter registration processes. According to reports, this group of individuals had been removed under Virginia's enforcement protocols designed to maintain accurate and lawful voter rolls. However, the court's ruling mandates the reinstatement of these registrations, suggesting potential procedural or legal missteps in the initial removals. This ruling comes amid heightened attention to voter roll maintenance practices across the United States, particularly in Virginia, where voter integrity remains a hotly debated issue. The order may spark further debates over how state governments manage voter eligibility, and the accuracy of election systems, with some election integrity advocates voicing concern over the implications this decision could have for state-level autonomy in election management. Now, the Biden administration's appointee behind this decision has been criticized by some for what they perceive as overreach, while others argue that this move is necessary to ensure all residents receive due process regarding their registration status. But there's a big difference between a resident and an illegal alien. This complex issue raises important questions about balancing the protection of voter rights with ensuring only eligible citizens participate in elections. I mean, I can't just hop over to some other country during their election and start voting for their president. Can I? We'll be right back.
So you heard Rogan. I don't know if you had 3 hours to kill, but Trump was just himself, doesn't change no matter what the audience is. What kind of an impact is that going to have?
He's just, like you said, he's himself, man. He goes on there for 3 hours and is very candid. Joe's the same way, this very raw, the way they were talking like they were friends. I just don't know that Kamala could do that. I can't see her going on there for 3 hours and having to answer the follow-up questions Joe may have for her. I can only imagine seeing her dodging some of those questions and trying to sidetrack, and he probably wouldn't let her. Or at least I hope he wouldn't. If she does decide to go on there, I think it'd be fun to watch her squirm her way around for 3 hours.
Yeah, there's nowhere to run in 3 hours. That's for sure. They have a problem with men. You heard her. She said it to the governor of Michigan. She got caught when they were having pints at the bar. Why do you think men, and of all races, Hispanic, white, black, are just not feeling Harris?
I don't think it's just men. You look at what she's done the last 4 years, her and Biden. Inflation's crazy. The wide open border we live in Arizona, so it's right in our backyard. And you have crime at an all-time high. So I think those three things there are not hard.
Donald Trump brought his campaign to New York City in spectacular fashion with a historic rally at Madison Square Garden, dubbed MAGA Square Garden by supporters. In a bold move, Trump aimed directly at the heart of deep blue New York, packing out the iconic 20,000-seat venue and filling the surrounding streets with tens of thousands of additional supporters. I saw it live because somebody was out there TikToking, and believe me, it was huge. Huge. This event marks one of the most memorable campaign rallies of the election cycle, drawing a roster of high-profile allies and sparking both enthusiasm and controversy. There was a star-studded guest list. Trump's campaign, and no, Beyonce wasn't there, and she didn't perform, but people came for Trump, not because some pop star is supposed to dance. Now, Trump's campaign pulled out all the stops of a star-studded guest list, inviting an electric mix of high-profile figures from various fields. Among those present were tech mogul Elon Musk, former news host Tucker Carlson, political commentator Tulsi Gabbard, environmental activist and independent presidential candidate RFK Jr., wrestling legend Hulk Hogan, comedian Tony Hinchcliffe, TV personality Dr. Phil, and others, creating a powerhouse lineup of supporters and speakers. With each guest brought their unique perspective, adding depth to the rally's themes of American greatness and resilience and economic revival. Now, the demand for entry was so overwhelming that the area was at full capacity hours before the event eventually and officially began. With thousands of supporters outside cheering and waving signs in support, Elon Musk took to social media to comment on the overflow, noting there were over 70,000 people just standing in support in streets around Madison Square Garden. The movement is massive. The rally's enormous turnout was a visible sign of Trump's broad appeal and significant support of his campaign is amassing as election nears. And I guarantee you, there was probably not buses all over the place, because I bet you Donald Trump didn't have to bus people into New York to get a rally full like Kamala Harris does with her rallies. So let's talk about some memorable moments from Trump's speech. As anticipation filled the air, former First Lady Melania Trump took to the stage to introduce her husband. Trump walked out to a live performance by Lee Greenwood singing his anthem, God Bless the United States, USA. Trump's speech was packed with policy announcements, thought-provoking questions, and unmistakable appeals to working-class Americans with several standout moments. Now, I'll let you know on the article on GoRightNews.com, I have a link to the YouTube where you can watch the whole speech. Now, here's some moments. Simple question for America. Trump opened with a powerful question in the audience. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? This question resonates deeply with how Americans are facing economic struggles, inflation, and the rising cost of living, setting the tone for the night. New policy for family caregivers. Trump announced a policy aimed at helping family caregivers, saying, I'm announcing a new policy today that I will support a tax credit for family caregivers who take care of a parent or a loved one. It's about time that they were recognized, and this initiative speaks to millions of Americans who provide care for their family members, often without support, like myself. Strong stance on violent crime. Trump called for the death penalty for any migrant convicted of killing an American citizen or law enforcement officer, underscoring his commitment to law and order with a firm stance on violent crime. I kind of believe that too, because, I mean, you're an illegal alien. You don't belong here. Your country of origin doesn't want you. We shouldn't be keeping you in our prison. There you go. Left-wing media reactions. So the mainstream media's reaction was swift, with CNN and MSNBC attempting to downplay the rally's success. MSNBC aired a segment during the event with the caption, Trump Madison Square Garden rally comes 85 years after pro-Nazi rally at famed arena. Really? An attempt to draw an extreme comparison to historical events. I mean, if that was the case, Donald Trump stands where the Civil War was. Donald Trump stands. I mean, come on, folks. Really? Meanwhile, CNN's website ran with the headline reading, Trump loyalists spew racist, vulgar attacks at New York City rally, implying that supporters' fervor was somehow menacing or unacceptable. Both reactions highlighted the media's ongoing hostility and framing of Trump rallies in a negative light. I mean, I've seen nothing but love at Trump rallies. But, oh no, it's hate. Now, there's one thing we have to address. It's the elephant in the room, is the controversy over Tony Hinchcliffe's comedy. The rally included a short segment. Again, this is drawing on the one thing, no matter how much Trump said and what was needed, the media wanted to draw on this one attack, and they're going to try to bring this up. It included a short segment from comedian Tony Hinchcliffe, who delivered a satirical speech that included a joke about Puerto Rico, which stirred controversy because during his act, Hinchcliffe quipped, there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now, and I think it's called Puerto Rico. I would have probably thought it was Cuba. This line was quickly taken out of context by media outlets looking to paint the event in a negative light. Even my dad was like, I didn't think Donald Trump lost a bunch of Puerto Rican voters because of a joke. I'm like, whatever. Now, his routine, which also made light of Israel, Palestine, Russia, Ukraine, was a typical example of his brand of comedy, known for his unfiltered humor. But nobody laughs anymore. Everybody's offended. I'm offended. Yet the media's selective outrage over his line was telling. The same weekend, comedian George Lopez made a joke at a Harris campaign rally about Mexicans being thieves. Yet his remark received no backlash. A double standard further underscores the media's inconsistent response depending on the political affiliation of the speaker. That's just how it is. But ultimately, there was a vision for America's future from Elon Musk. One of the rally's most stirring moments came from Tesla's CEO, Elon Musk, who delivered a brief yet optimistic message about what he envisioned from America under another Trump term. Musk declared that America is not just going to be great. America is going to reach heights that is never seen before. The future is going to be amazing. His words resonated with supporters who view Musk as an example of entrepreneurial success and a leader unafraid to challenge the status quo. Now, Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden demonstrated the massive reach and impact of his campaign, even in traditionally Democratic strongholds. The overwhelming support, both inside and outside the arena, sent a clear message. Trump's movement is alive, well, and drawing Americans from all walks of life. As the media continues to critique and spin the narrative, the rally itself stands as evidence of the campaign's momentum, illustrating the growing enthusiasm and resolve among Trump supporters across the country. Again, you can check out the whole rally. The link to it is in the gorightnews.com under this article. Check it out. We'll be right back.
If you don't want to be called Nazis, stop doing it.
You've been called an anti-Semite more than anyone else's table.
Yeah.
And people would sit there and, no, by me. I never called you an anti-Semite. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying
I'm a supporter of the Palestinians, so I'm used to it.
Yeah, I hope your beeper doesn't go off. The thing is that
you just say I should die?
You should not.
No,
did you just say I should be killed?
No, I did not say that. No, I did not say that.
Hold on. Did your guest just say I should be killed on live TV?
I said I hope you don't.
Let me just stop.
You said you hope my beeper doesn't go off.
Because you said I'm a big supporter
of the Palestinians.
Hamas?
Guys, let me
stop.
Palestinians. Are you?
Am I what? No, of course I'm not.
I apologize.
Are you a racist, violent person inciting violence against
Ryan,
That's disgusting.
that is completely.
Then I apologize.
Good job, CNN. Let's have first block say the Muslim guy should be blown up.
I apologize.
On TV.
Don't say then I apologize. You literally.
I thought you said Hamas.
You didn't think I said Hamas. I said I supported Palestinian rights.
Yes, I did.
Why? Because when you hear
what's
Palestinian,
funny is Rudy Giuliani said this yesterday, so you're a great guest to be here to defend Rudy Giuliani.
I wasn't going to entertain nonsense today, and so at this point,
this is what we're in now. This is America in 2024.
Here's what I will say.
Forget the racism.
That's right.
It's I should die.
I didn't say that. You
said
die.
What does beeper mean? Don't give me your
I did not say you should die.
Why did you say with my beeper go?
What did you mean?
What did you mean by the beeper?
So what did you mean?
What did you mean by the beeper? No, you didn't. You said, I hope your beeper doesn't go off.
Ryan, stop talking.
At least have the guts to support your racist comment.
Hang on. I'm so sorry.
Let her bring it back.
This is why yesterday's rally was disgusting.
Don't call us Nazis, but I'm going to threaten the brown guy as a terrorist and kill him.
Because I didn't ever say Donald Trump was Hitler. Man. But do you know who stood on a stage yesterday and said, I want to come to the Nazi rally? I don't have to make up words and call you something. You're saying it for yourself. And what you just said
Kamala
right
Harris
here, apologize, but I will tell you, I don't accept that apology, and you didn't even say it to me.
I didn't say
that was disgusting. But I can be offended when you don't even say it to me. I'm not Puerto Rican, but I was offended by what he said yesterday. And I'm offended that the former president and potentially future president would allow it and go for 12 hours and not say, I don't care. Because you know what? When Kamala Harris put out statements about switching up opinions, it wasn't good enough for Republicans.
Why are you looking at me?
Because you said it.
Why don't you take this back a little?
Last night felt spiritual. And I don't mean to go there, right? We don't often talk about faith on this program. I don't ply people's faith. Maybe we should do more of it, but we focus generally on politics. But it's hard. It was hard. It was impossible, actually. I got teary-eyed multiple times last night. It was hard to not absorb the spiritual energy in the room of people from many, many different faith backgrounds. I mean, there were Orthodox Jews that were praying during the event. There was a Hindu speaker. There were speakers, I think, of all faith backgrounds, but there's this predominant spiritual energy, I think, best summed up by Tony Hinchcliffe saying God voted 3 months ago for who he wanted for president.
Yeah.
And I think that this movement has become something different, Alina. Have you felt like the vibe shift?
Yeah.
As you've been out on the road?
Yeah, I've been on this journey with him for, the past 3.5 years or whatever it's been. I don't know, since the fall of whatever year. I've been with him in so many different dimensions, and the love that we're getting at this moment, which is very different than in the trials, very different. And we had a ton of support then too. But this has been truly moving. I mean, you don't mind losing sleep or not sleeping at all. In fact, I have to hop off of this show to go to Georgia right now. But I have to tell you, Benny, you hit the nail on the head, and the energy there in such a big place to feel so much love, but to really feel it. It didn't feel like a big venue. It felt like home. And everybody just supported each other. There was love, there was encouragement, and nobody got tired. And we were there for a long time. That's because of that man right there and his beautiful wife. So I'm very honored, and thank you for having me.
We love you. We love you, Alina. And the libs need to learn how to take a joke. You've done social media posts about this. Learn how to take a joke. Like libs need to learn that, like, some people are professional comedians. Yeah, get a life. That's right. Get a life.
Last news for the day. So, in a significant ruling, a U.S. appeals court determined that states cannot legally count mail-in ballots received after Election Day, marking a victory for Republicans who argue that deadlines are essential to ensuring election integrity. The decision reinforces the principle that voting should conclude on Election Day to maintain consistency and public trust in the electoral process. I mean, this is like they've been doing this. We can count ballots for 7 days later, 10 days later. No, you need to get it there by Election Day. You've had all this time. You've had early voting. You've had everything else. You need to get it there. Bull crap. It's got to be there. Now, the court's ruling underscores that states cannot exceed the deadline for mail-in ballots beyond Election Day without clear legislation allowing them to do so. This decision reflects a response to ongoing concerns from election integrity advocates who believe that allowing ballots to be counted days after the election creates room for error, confusion, and potential mismanagement. Now, this decision, however, also raised concerns among those who argue that delays in mail-in ballot delivery, often outside the control of voters, could disenfranchise legitimate voters who mailed their ballots before Election Day but faced Postal Service delays. Advocates for expanding voting rights have emphasized that, especially in high turnout or unprecedented voting years, ensuring that every vote is counted may require more flexible timelines. But with mail-in voting becoming increasingly prevalent in the wake of recent elections, this ruling may influence states to reassess their mail-in ballot handling processes and create clearer legislation governing ballot receipt deadlines. The decision is likely to set the stage for further debates and legal challenges as states refine their voting procedures, weighing election integrity against the need to make voting accessible for all citizens. We'll be right back.
What do you want to tell people?
I would just vote Donald Trump because I don't want to vote Donald Trump.
You know what? I reached down and I found one more article in the sack. So we're going to talk about it. In a move sparking controversy and criticizing, the Biden-Harris administration has been accused of quietly granting amnesty to millions of illegal immigrants by closing thousands of immigration court cases. This quiet amnesty allows many undocumented individuals to remain in the United States indefinitely without the need to face formal deportation proceedings, effectively allowing them to stay in the country without obtaining legal residency status as well. Now, according to recent reports, immigration authorities have systematically dismissed immigration court cases at an unprecedented rate. By doing so, the administration is said to be prioritizing cases deemed non-urgent for those involving individuals with no significant criminal history, which critics argue bypasses due process and circumvents the immigration system. Now, how's this process work? The administration has allegedly directed immigration courts to administratively close or dismiss cases involving undocumented immigrants without proceeding through traditional legal channels. This practice means that many individuals who entered the country illegally no longer face imminent deportation or legal penalties. Essentially, by closing these cases, the administration is providing temporary relief from deportation, which some argue is akin to granting amnesty without going through legislative or judicial processes. Now, the legal mechanism for this is quiet amnesty rests on discretionary practices within immigration courts, allowing judges and immigration officers to deprioritize or close cases beyond on policy priorities. This has resulted in millions of cases being deferred indefinitely, allowing undocumented individuals to continue residing and, in some cases, working in the United States without fear of removal. Now, there's a lot of criticism from immigration advocates and opponents alike. The decision has drawn sharp criticism from various political and advocacy groups. Conservative lawmakers and immigration enforcement advocates argue that these actions reward illegal immigration and incentivize further illegal crossings, as potential migrants may interpret this as leniency or a lack of enforcement at the southern border. They claim that this move undermines border security and creates a backlog of legitimate cases within the immigration system. On the other side, some immigrant rights organizations have praised the approach as a compassionate response to the overwhelming number of cases in the immigration courts. With some, little more than 1 million cases pending, supporters argue that closing these cases allows the government to focus on individuals who pose security risks rather than overburdening an already strained court system with nonviolent individuals or families simply seeking a better life. However, even some moderate immigration advocates have raised concerns, warning that the approach lacks transparency and clear guidelines. They argue that the policy of this scale should be openly debated and legalized by Congress rather than being implemented through administrative discretion alone. This, they say, would ensure that the American public has a voice in shaping immigration policy, particularly when it involves such a large number of people. Now, this policy has added fuel to the already heated national debate on immigration reform and border security. Many argue that policies like these hinder the government's ability to enforce immigration laws, especially at the time when the number of encounters at the southern border remains high. Critics warn that closing these cases sends a signal to prospective migrants that the U.S. immigration system is flexible to the point of allowing non-compliance with legal entry requirements. And opponents of the policy emphasize that such practices may have long-term implications for communities nationwide. They argued that the lack of clear policy and oversight could increase demand on social services and the labor market without addressing broader issues of legal immigration reform, placing undue strain on local resources. Now, the Biden-Harris administration's approach to immigration case closures may face legal challenges from Republican-led states and immigration-focused advocacy groups who argue that the executive branch has overstepped its authority. The legal questions revolve around whether the administration has the discretion to indefinitely suspend cases without congressional approval. Moving forward, though, this quiet amnesty could shape future policy discussions, enforcing Congress to take a definite stance on immigration enforcement and reform. We'll see. I know that there's a lot of work to do and a lot of people that's got to go. Maybe not everybody, but some people got to go. We'll be right back with our hashtag GoRight recap. Welcome back to our hashtag GoRight recap, the latest rundown on America's crossroads. So Trump fills in MAGA Square Garden and an unforgettable rally at the New York's Madison Square Garden. Trump packed a venue with thousands more supporters flooding the streets. Big names like Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, Dr. Phil showed up, underscoring the immense support and excitement around Trump's campaign. As expected, mainstream media couldn't resist putting their biased spin around it, complaining about one comedian, and they put the energy of they try to brush aside the energy, but the energy of Trump's movement is undeniable. Meanwhile, the Biden-Harris's quiet amnesty, the Biden administration facing backlash for what critics are calling quiet amnesty after immigration courts closed cases for millions of undocumented individuals, allowing them to remain in the country without the risk for deportation. Immigration reform advocates warn that this bypasses due process and lacks transparency, fueling ongoing debates over border security and America's immigration policy. And to make things worse, appeal court rules for election integrity. even though they are saying that some illegal voters could able to vote. But in a major win for Republicans and election integrity advocates, the U.S. Appeals Court ruled that mail-in ballots must be received by Election Day to be counted. This decision affirms the importance of election deadlines and signals the court's stance on upholding timely election results. But in Virginia, the voter roll has got a controversy. A judge appointed under the Biden-Harris administration has ordered Virginia to reinstate the registrations of over 1,600 people who self-identified as illegal immigrants and were removed from the voter rolls. Now, this decision has ignited a fierce debate over voter integrity and the sanctity of the democratic process. So, folks, the energy and fight to uphold American values are growing stronger every day. To stay updated and support our mission, head to GoRightNews.com. Watch more content on Rumble.com. Share this. Follow this. Let people know about hashtag GoRight. Find hashtag GoRight with Peter Boykin on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, X, Twitter, and more. And help us keep this movement going by donating via Cash App at $ Peter Boykin, the number 1, or by visiting GoRightNews.com and PeterBoykin.com for all the links. So remember, folks, let's keep fighting for truth and going right, because it's the only way forward. God bless everybody. Peace.
They packed the garden flags waving high, with voices loud reaching up to the sky. New York streets filled with a sea of red. Trump's crowd says America's not dead. Big names stand strong, from Tucker to Musk. They're backing a leader they've come to trust. While mainstream spins it throwing shade, but truth stands tall, it won't be swayed. So here we go, we're gonna fight and stand for every free heart across this land. Go Right News, where facts stay bright, with constitutionalists for America's life. Court rulings say ballots in by Election Day. Lines drawn in the sand in a clear, bold way. Quiet amnesty to shut cases down, but truth fights harder in every town. We're not here for silence, we're here for truth. A voice for the elders, a guide for the youth. The headlines roar, the people awake, for justice and freedom, no hearts break. Stand your ground, don't lose your voice. Freedom's a fire, so let's rejoice. Go Right News, yeah, where facts don't bend, for constitutionalists till the very end. Virginia's rolls under spotlights blaze, battling for votes in truth's tough maze. The garden's full and the streets still flow. America's heart, the world will know. Elections near, but the people rise. You can't kill the light that burns our skies. They'll twist and turn, but we'll stay clear. Voices and truth, no need to fear. Rise America, don't look away. With constitutionalists we pave the way. Go Right News brings truth tonight, and for freedom's flame we'll fight the fight. From city streets to the open plains, we're bound together in freedom's chains. With stars and stripes held high above, we march
Welcome back to the hashtag Go Right News Recap. On hashtag Go Right with Peter Boykin, we're breaking down the major issues shaping in America. Illegal immigration continues to drain our resources, costing American taxpayers over $150 billion in 2023 alone. The FAIR report shows that federal, state, and local governments spent $182 billion on services like healthcare, education, and law enforcement for illegal aliens, only offset by $32 billion in tax revenue, leaving taxpayers to bear the remaining $150 billion. Cities like Denver and New York are already cutting local budgets and essential services just to cover these costs, raising questions about how we'll sustain this level of spending. Meanwhile, Donald Trump recently proposed eliminating federal income tax if he wins in 2024, a revolutionary idea that could boost Americans' income but raises questions about federal funding. In Pennsylvania, a McDonald's owner had to hire a private security after facing threats following Trump's visit, showing that today's political climate is increasingly impacting small business owners. And in election security remains a priority with a recent Colorado incident where a dozen mailed ballots were stolen and 3 were cast illegally, an attempt of the vulnerabilities in our election system that voters want to address. And on the foreign front, Russian President Vladimir Putin praised Trump's sincere efforts to resolve the Ukraine conflict, adding an international dimension to Trump's 2024 campaign. That's the news today, folks. For more details and latest updates on these pressing issues, visit GoRightNews.com, where this article is there, and you'll see videos and other things and links. Follow hashtag GoRight with Peter Boykin on Rumble.com, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, X, Twitter, and other platforms. To support our mission, consider donating via Cash App at $Peter Boykin, the number 1. But there's also other links that are available on GoRightNews.com and PeterBoykin.com. Stay informed, stay engaged, and let's keep America strong together. God bless everybody. Peace.
A loaf of bread costs 50% more today than it did before the pandemic. Ground beef is up almost 50%.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
To the podcast. Let's go right. With Peter Boykin here to light the fight. Talking freedom, justice, truth, and might. Guided by the stars and stripes tonight. Stand tall, constitutionalist and free. For liberty's voice, come and see. Together we rise, you and me. Welcome to the Go Right, the way it should be. Welcome to the Go